can see my screen here. I've put a Biopulsar scan on there that I wanted to go over. And I thought today's hour, what we would do is we would split it up into different segments that offered different possibilities of how you can do sessions within your consultation. Because to me, this is very important that you define the types of services with the Biopulsar that you're going to be offering people, anywhere from an introductory session that is ideal if you're doing events to, you know, building different segments of readings based on taking people through a journey. And I want to share with you, I had a really powerful email sent to me in the last day. And it was one of my Biopulsar owners sharing with me that, you know, the Biopulsar shows you your dark side, and her seeing her dark side help enlighten her to how she can make the changes and truly live life. And I think this is one of the things that is empowering about the Biopulsar, is the fact that it does show us areas of ourselves that aren't integrated, and then where we can focus, put our intention, put our healing, you know, focus our therapies. So this way we can evolve as a human being. And this is true of ourselves as well as our client. But everything has to be done in steps. Now, because I'm what we call a yellow personality, I always want things instantaneous. So when I first started with the Biopulsar, I thought one reading, that's it, that's all you need, because based on one reading, you're going to get a ton of information. But now I understand that there's so many layers of our energy dynamics that we have to unsurface to get to, you know, the deeper root causes. And it's a process, meaning, you know, we can't expect that one session is going to be life-changing for people. It certainly can be. However, by breaking down our services into different menus, then we can sort of work on different healing programs with the client. So to begin with, you know, you may want to start with a specific type of session, and then from there, you know, from there, develop or add on different sessions that will take people to that next level. So I always think about an introductory session being more based on the chakra analysis, where as we get more evolved, then, you know, doing more advanced aura reading, and then combining it with the, you know, the physicality of the situation. However, that being said, even when I do a 10-minute chakra reading, I incorporate aspects of the aura and the organ analysis. So this way people understand the legitimacy of the system, how accurate it is. And then at the end of the session, I always indicate what the next protocol is, you know, what the next session would look like, or, you know, how the next session can further help them. Because like I said, I think we need to have the program set into motion, that way we're taking people on that journey physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So what I want to do is take you through a whole variety of things, but that would also encompass like a 1-hour reading. And I'm going to break it down into approximately a 10-minute chakra reading, a 10-15 minute aura reading, combined with a 15-20 minute assessment of the energy dynamics. And I just pulled up one scan that I did a while ago, but I remember this person because of things that were going on physically, as well as, you know, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So let's just jump in now to the chakra reading. So when I'm doing a chakra reading, I like to give people a little 1-minute synopsis of what they're expecting. And again, this is to the advantage of the client, because if they've never experienced this before, then we want to give them some education as what we're doing. So the chakra reading being sort of a standalone session, usually it's a 10-minute reading. However, that being said, you can expand it to a half-hour reading, and you can charge anywhere from $10 for that, you know, mini chakra reading to, you know, $45, $50 for a half-hour reading, to even, you know, $75 to $90 for a 1-hour reading. Now, when I throw out prices, the prices are going to be based on your country, as well as your area. And I always think about one of my Biopulsar owners. She lived in New Jersey, but she also worked in Connecticut. And when she was in New Jersey, she charged $75 an hour, but in Connecticut, she charged $120 an hour for the same session because her expenses were higher in Connecticut. So you have to look at your overhead. Do you work from home or are you renting an office? These are the factors that will illustrate what your services might charge. But usually the shorter the reading, the less expensive. It's more like an introduction, although there's a lot of data that we're giving the client that really is worth its value. When I compare us to other systems that might charge $20 for a mini reading, we give so much more because we're being more precise. It's not generic data, it's more precise information. So in a chakra reading, and I'm just going to time it here, we're about 8 minutes after, so actually what I'm going to do is, 7 minutes after. So we'll just, like I said, I want to kind of keep time on this. So this way, again, you can see how much is included in a 10-minute reading. So I always start with an introduction. So sometimes I'll even ask the client, are you familiar with the chakra system? And if they're not, my description is very brief. So what I'm going to be doing here today is we're doing an energy analysis through your endocrine system, and some people refer to them as chakras. Medical doctors refer to them as neural energy centers or neural energy network centers. So what we're doing is we're taking this energy scan, and this gives me a lot of information as to how your energy flow is operating through your body. So the root chakra is governed by the adrenals, the sexual or sacral center, the gonads, the solar plexus, the pancreas, the heart, the thymus, the thyroid, the throat, the thyroid, the brow, the pituitary gland, and the crown, the pineal gland. So what I'm doing is I'm taking an energy scan of your complete energy network. And again, this just gives me indication of how your energy flow is. So we're going to start by talking about the root chakra. That is at 33%. Now on a scale, 100 means excess, 0 means deficiency, and what we're looking at is between 50 to 70 being the average, 50 being the low side of normal or the low side of average, and 70 being the high side of average or normal. So ideally, we'd like to see the chakras around 65%. And so seeing the root chakra, this is indicating that this is where we'll need to focus because this is your lowest energy center. And as we go through the energy centers, then I'm going to be able to give you more indication as to why one center is stronger than the other. Also, we have to recognize that as a totality, we are 100% whole the way we are. Whether we're resonating at a high frequency or a lower frequency, we're still 100% whole. So this is giving us data as to how we are in comparison. So on average, most of your chakras are in between 40 and we're looking at about 58 is sort of the average, the root being a little bit under, and the solar plexus actually is right at the optimal level. That's awesome. So this tells me that you're an independent thinker, that you're very strong-minded. For you, you deduce everything in an analytical way. You're very advanced in regards to your ability to process. And I would engage in some conversations, just saying, you love to learn, don't you? Is studying very important? Are you very curious in nature? Do you find that you're a very strong, independent person? Do you have a lot of self-confidence? So those are some of the key questions that you can ask people to engage them. And engagement is very, very important because if I just do a reading and I don't engage the client, then by the time I get to the end, they haven't necessarily attached to things because of the fact there isn't that involvement. I want to empower people. And by empowering people, we have to ask them questions so they affirm what it is that we're saying. When they affirm, by nodding their head or by, letting us know that, yes, that makes perfect sense, then what we're doing is we're just keeping them on track with, the way we're doing the analysis and how it pertains to them. So with the root chakra being the weakest, this tells me that you put a smaller emphasis on your physical health than you do your mental health. And I always think of Thomas Edison. When I went to his plantation in Florida, it was stated that Thomas Edison said that his physical body was only the house for his mental mind, something along that line. But again, that is sort of what this person is resonating, that they put a lot of emphasis in their mind power, their independence, rather than their physicality and their general health. So this is one of the reasons why we want to have them connected to their root chakra, because otherwise, you know, the mental mind, it's easy for people to say, I can do that, or will themselves through an illness or sickness, but it's not natural physical strength. We have to bring in that natural physical strength so the person is taking responsibility for their physical health. Okay, does that make sense so far? Put your thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so again, that would be other questions that I can ask. You know, do you put a lot of emphasis on your, you know, your mental capabilities and less on your physicality? And sometimes by looking at people, you'll be able to see how strong they are physically, because often we can see physical disconnect by the person's weight, by their posture, just their overall appearance in regards to, do they look healthy, or do they look like they could put a little bit more emphasis on their health? And again, I want to assure you there's no right or wrong. And I actually say this to clients, there's no right or wrong. It's just that when we look at the facts, then we have to look at, you know, what it is that you can do that's going to help create more balance. Because when you have one chakra that's high and another one that's lower, we have to bring in the communication so there's more connection with the different energy networks. Because the reality is when there's one chakra that's higher and one that's lower, this is indicating that there's going to be struggles in life. So we want to make sure that people don't have those struggles. So by, you know, having people acknowledge that they're more, you know, into their mental capabilities than taking care of their physical body, then again, you know, that's really important to helping empower people. And because the chakras are all sort of, you know, closer in numbers other than the extremes, we can see here that, you know, this person isn't vibrating at a super strong level. Their norm is more around the 50% mark. And that is okay, but eventually we want to boost the whole system stronger. But if the root is weaker, it's a little bit more of a fight to get there. And again, I would let people know that the root chakra is connected to the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are our capability and our power to fight for what it is that we want. But when you have such a strong mental ability, then, you know, again, more emphasis is put on that. You may have a lot of thoughts and ideas, but are you able to manifest them? And that is a key. Are you able to manifest them? Because the root chakra is all about manifestation. So by seeing that this person may not be able to manifest as much as they actualize in their mentality, that can create a problem. Because again, I have lots of thoughts and ideas, and if I don't put some of them forward and actualize them, I can get very frustrated. And the yellow person will be very hard on themselves. They'll be very self-critical. Oh, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you, you know, moving forward? Why aren't you accomplishing, you know, your goals? So again, it's about a balance. Now, we've already actually talked to the client for 8 minutes. That's how fast it goes. Isn't that incredible that a 10-minute reading can go this fast? And now to wind it up, I'm going to give some color therapy protocols, because now I'm going to just, you know, speak to the client about, it's all about vibration. And in order to help balance your energy, what we need to do is bring in more of the red power. So this way you get more physical strength. And this is when I would pull out my red homework sheet and start going through the different things that is going to help that client raise their red vibration by give power to their root chakra. And one of the participants who participated at the meeting the other day said that when she used the red essence in combination with the red light, it really gave her a lot more physical strength and vitality. And again, this is what we're talking about, is, you know, empowering people so they can bring in things during their day that are going to feed their, their weakest chakra. So I educate people on the fact that in order to bring up an energy center, in order to feed the adrenal glands, we need to bring in the red vibration. And this is where we might even, talk about the science of color therapy 101 if you have time. If not, it's something that you'll have to, maybe educate the client on in their next session. But literally, we need to get the client to work on the root chakra, the red energy, to bring it up. So I would be recommending the red essence, the red chakra blend, maybe red color bathing. Also, there's a whole palette of red foods that people can eat, from strawberries to cherries to a lot of protein forms are red energy. And at the end of the session, I would say, now this was just an introductory session. In order to understand more about your energy, what I'd like to do is have you book another session. So this way we can focus on some areas, physically, or, some other areas that we see as an imbalance to help you charge your energy. But in this mini session, we just have enough time to talk about your energy flow and the ways that you can bring up the energy. But when you bring up your red energy, you're going to find that you'll be more motivated. You'll be more focused on your goals. You'll find that you'll have an abundance of energy versus maybe being a little bit more tired, because again, if you exude a lot of mental energy, then, that will affect you physically, that you're going to feel physically drained. Okay, so then I would wind it up by, trying to book them for the next session, which is a longer session where we can cover more information. Okay, so that in a nutshell was a mini reading. Now, if I'm doing a half-hour session, then I can start with the chakras, do that 10-minute reading, and then do another, 10-15-minute reading on the aura, and then combining the two. So again, what we're doing is we're doing a half-hour reading where we're combining a couple different elements of the software. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, like I said, a 10-minute reading on the aura to give you a perspective of what that would look like. Now, of course, if the client were here, that would be magnificent, because then, I would be having an actual dialogue. I'm kind of talking on behalf of the client by asking questions, and, because nobody's there, I'm not getting the feedback back, but I assure you, they would be giving you some of their commentary. So the first thing that I do when I look at the aura picture is I look at the colors above their head, and I'm just going to sort of highlight what I'm looking at here. It's the colors that are above the head that I'm referring to when I talk about their mood, their thoughts, their beliefs, their overall, health of the brain. But first and foremost, I always start my reading by saying, what a beautiful aura. The colors that you're radiating tell me a lot about your personality. And above the head, we can see this bloom of orange. And that orange energy tells me you're a very creative person. And you like to have fun in life. For you, it's, you enjoy the pleasures of life. You live in the moment, and you want to sense everything that's going on in your life. And I love that energy, because it's such an energy that just really enjoys the power of now. And, a lot of people, they're not into the power of now. So this is awesome that, I see you as such a creative and joyful person. Does that make sense? Are you creative? Are you happy-go-lucky? So again, I've engaged the client in a couple questions, and I'm waiting for them to give me some feedback to affirm that, that's part of who they are. Now, you also have this energy of turquoise that's above your head. It's sort of like a turquoise blue hue, and I'm just going to point to that as well, so you can see what I'm discussing about. So this area here is the plume. This has a lot to do with the person's beliefs, as well as, their current thinking capabilities. So being in that turquoise blue hue, this tells me family and friends are very important. Trust, loyalty, devotion are key elements in your personality. I can actually share with you, this person was engaged to a new partnership. She was with someone else and caught this person cheating on her. So absolutely, trust, loyalty, devotion were very important to her. And she was in nature a very orange person. She did the color personality test, and her number one energy was orange. So she was a very creative, a very emotional individual. And because of what had happened in a past relationship, she confessed to me that because she was cheated on, trust, loyalty, devotion were very, very much a part of her way of thinking. And she was high in the blue energy naturally as well in her color test. So again, that, confirmed that she was using that blue energy, to some regards, in regards to relationships. Now, she also has this pink energy or magenta energy also in her brain. So this tells me she's a very kind and compassionate person. She was very thoughtful, she just seemed like a nice person in general. Now I'll tell you more about the story later on, but a very nice person in general. So overall, this person is somebody who's very emotional in nature, however, combined with some left brain energy of that bluish hue. Now, when we look at the colors that are going around, I look at what's above the head, or literally this umbrella here. Sorry, this is hard to draw with with my cursor. And we look at the color here, which is the average area of the belly. This is the average area of the head above here. And then the yellow underneath is the average area of the body. In a way, I kind of look at it as the body, mind, and spirit connection. So there's a shift in energies from the orange above the head to sort of this turquoisey blue on the side, to the orangey yellow color underneath. So this is somebody who is going through a lot of emotion. And because she was in this new relationship, she, confessed to me again that it was very hard for her to let her guard down because of all the emotions of catching her last boyfriend cheating on her. And because of all the emotions that were pent up, she was actually quite revengeful. And that could be some of that negativity that we see in the brain. But at this point, I didn't bring up the gray that's in the brain because that is something that I'll touch on later on in the reading. At the beginning, I like to really have people feel good about their energy. And as we get into more of a dialogue, then I get a bigger picture of the story. And just so you know, I don't always know everything at the beginning when I'm doing a reading. And so the story comes out as we, continue the reading. I learn more about the person's circumstance. But right now, because the body, mind, and spirit are in different hues, there's a little bit of a disconnect there. This person's very emotional, and blue can also pertain to self-knowledge. So therefore, this person is going through a learning phase in regards to who they are, but a lot of it is emotional based. Now, when I go through the chakras, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the root chakra area, because the root chakra area is telling me more about how they're grounded, their foundation, how they're feeling in regards to their own self-support. Because the root chakra is not about necessarily the support that you receive outside, from family, friends, or coworkers. Rather, the root chakra is about your inner strength, your independence, your inner courage, your inner confidence. That's all about the red energy. So right here, we're seeing there's a lot of gray coming in. And this could be the connection to her ex-partner, because a lot of our physical relationships, which really what I'm saying is sexual relationships, are in that root chakra area. So when we see gray there, sometimes there's a disconnect. And we may see this with new mothers. We may see this with people who don't have partners. With her, she was in a new relationship, but there was still a lot of unresolved issue with the ex-partner, because she brought him into the conversation in several ways, indicating because she actually caught him cheating, she walked in on him actually in the relationship. And so therefore that must have been quite painful for her. And because she was very revengeful, she actually destroyed things in his home. And this is typical of somebody who is strong in an orange nature, because that orange energy can be very volatile, happy one minute, angry the next. And when the orange is out of balance, It could be somebody having a tantrum and even going to the length of self-mutilation or even destroying things that are around them. And so, of course, in this case, she did some things to destroy his home, which is not normal. So, you know, again, we can sort of look at that volatility, but because of the fact, you know, I was able to, you know, talk to her about her extreme emotions, then she was able to tell me more about what she had done. So in the root chakra, that's one of the reasons why we need to rebuild the root chakra, because this person isn't trusting in regards to their own independence, their own courage. And when we're relying on other people for that emotional support and they don't give it to us, then of course that could have, you know, an effect on our root chakra, because we get ungrounded, we feel unsafe. Somebody has destroyed that component of relationship building. I have a feeling that this was common in her life, because a lot of people who resonate high in the orange energy, if they're not feeling appreciated, and certainly if their partner cheats on them, then they're going to move out of that relationship very, very quickly. So a lot of times orange people will continue to have a lot of relationships in their life. And that includes even a lot of friends in their life. So as we go through the chakra system, we can also see that there's a bit of a disconnect here in the throat chakra, as well as an aspect of the back brain, which again, that gray could be indicating not wanting to deal with these past emotions to learn from, and as well as not maybe being able to vocalize what had happened, because of course when a relationship ends so traumatically, then there can be a lot of things that are unsaid. So part of my homework that I would give her, or I had given her, was that she should actually write a letter to her ex and put down all her emotions and her feelings and her thoughts in regards to that relationship and burn it. By burning it, she's letting it go to the ether. So this way it's out of her life and it will help her to move forward. And she may have to write several letters to get to that next stage, because otherwise she may always feel that, the partner she's with could be a cheater, and we don't want her to feel that. We want her to gain enough energy in her root chakra, so that way she's strong and independent and not, relying on other people to feed her, to help her be happy, because the orange energy has to be happy on its own. Again, we don't get anything out of our relationships, although of course we can get some form of support, but it has to come internally, not externally. We have to be happy with our energy within ourselves in order to have that happiness and a good, strong, healthy relationship. And this is quite common to see the root chakra weak when relationships have failed, but failed relationships just give us the opportunity to move forward in life and build stronger relationships. But if we don't learn from that, then again, the root chakra as well as the sexual chakra can be problematic. Now, her sexual chakra is still strong, so she wasn't affected in that energy center in regards to relationships. It was more about the foundation, more about other aspects of, the root chakra that relates to relationship building. Okay, so, and again, here we are 10 minutes later, even I think 11 minutes later. So you can see how a 10-minute aura reading, I didn't even touch the surface. I could have gotten a lot deeper with this client in regards to their energy. But, based on a time factor, of course, then we have to abide by that. So again, if we're doing a longer half-hour reading, just in communicating aspects of the aura and aspects of the chakra. Now, in this case, I'm still going to go a couple minutes longer because we're trying to fill up a whole half hour in regards to doing that chakra and aura reading. But I just wanted to give you a little perspective of a 10-minute aura reading if that's what you're offering. Now, when I expand on that reading, other things that I'm looking at is I'm looking at where I'm seeing the gray. And sometimes the best way to, look at the gray is by either clicking on that part of the body. Okay, so when you click on an organ and you actually scroll down, you will see the organ that you've clicked on, it will be highlighted in the blue. So if in doubt, then you can just click on the organ, scroll down, and you'll see what organ you've connected to. The other thing is just actually scrolling through and looking at the areas that are weakest. So in this case, we can see that the hips are gray. So now this is when I can go more into giving some health tips, or I can go more into talking about the energy on an emotional, mental, and spiritual level. So the hips are about how hip you are in life. And as we get older, this tends to be an area that a lot of people weaken. And again, this is exactly what I say to people. As we get older, this is an area that we tend to weaken, because often in our job, we're sitting at a desk all day. And so our hips become more locked. The energy isn't flowing. This is why, I have balls in my room to teach people how, they can bounce on a ball and move their body, because we don't want the body to become stagnant. And, so even by sitting on a ball at your desk is a great way to move your hips, because then you're rolling on that ball and you're moving your hips constantly, versus when you're sitting in a chair, then your energy becomes very stagnant. And I can ask the person, if they notice that they have an occasional, stiffness in the hips, or is it, a pain that's constant. In her case, I don't recall. So, but again, when you have the person live in front of you, that's a great question to ask. Now, if they're not feeling pain, then again, we understand it is emotional, mental, or spiritual based. And when people are not moving forward in life because they don't have the equilibrium, then again, they could get a little frustrated or sad that they're not getting, or not moving forward in life. They're not accomplishing some of their goals. And the hips are about how hip we are in life. And 80% of people at one time or another seem to have problems in the hips. Some, it's more continual, where you'll see it every single time that you take a scan of them. And some people, it could just be here and there. I certainly know with myself, as long as I'm moving my body, then my hips are more lubricated and more flexible, and I don't have issues. Whereas if I sit a lot in my work, then I can feel that when I wake up in the morning, my hips will be stiff. But when I feel that hip stiffness, then right away I'm saying to myself, okay, girl, you got to get on the ball, or you got to start getting more physical. You got to walk the dog more, which of course the dog doesn't mind, but needless to say, we need to do more. So I do a lot of stretching in the morning, and it's kind of cute, because when Tex wakes up, he stretches and I stretch with him, because it's a reminder for me to stretch my body. But also, when our hips are out, we tend to cross our legs, or we tend to sit lopsided. And even, I just noticed that I was sort of sitting slouched. And again, we should be sitting in a chair with our back totally at a perpendicular angle to our feet. And both feet should be planted on the ground. And so you can see that my hips are more or less straight, whereas if I cross my legs, you'll notice that one hip's going to go down right away, because that's basically part of our atlas. And as we look at the energetics of this client, we can see that, chances are her neck and shoulders are also going to be problematic, because if her hips are out, and bingo, here we are, the neck is out also. So there always is that pattern. And another thing I noted to further understand the connection, the mouth is out. And again, when your neck is out, your jaw can be crooked, as well as the ears are connected to your body's equilibrium, as well as your cerebellum. This is a common pattern. And in your binder, your training manual, I did give you this chart, which goes into all the aspects. And as I mentioned, I recently redesigned it. So I've even put a bit more additional information there for you, but nonetheless, the first column that's highlighted in red gives you the indication of all the organs and glands that are connected to the body's equilibrium. So when we see the hips out, right away look to see if there's any other organs in combination with the hips that are indicating that the whole atlas is off or the majority of the atlas is off. Because again, if somebody is putting more emphasis in their right brain abilities, and in this case, this person is very emotional based, then we can understand her imbalance is on the right side of the brain. So she's not putting as much emphasis on the left side, even though in the chakra flow, we can see that right now she is putting a lot of emphasis on the solar plexus, but the colors of her aura are indicating more emotional colors. And that would be the disconnect, that maybe she, is stronger in her solar plexus, but if the colors of her aura are indicating more emotional base, then there could be that disconnect between the right and the left brain, which would be then confirmed with the right side of the body and the left side of the body being out of equilibrium in the hips. We always look at the hips first in reference to the body's equilibrium. Okay, so you can see how then I kind of moved it towards some of the emotional contact, some of the physical contact. So at this point, again, in a half-hour reading, I'm winding up by giving the color protocols. And in this case, I could also indicate some therapy treatments. I had to take a sip of my beautiful hibiscus tea. So exercises that she could do is, going on the ball and just, doing some stretching on the ball. For the neck and the shoulder area, having people stand in a door frame, and holding themselves forward or allowing themselves to fall forward will stretch the muscles and the tissues in there to open it up, as well as, the shoulder rolls, the neck exercises where they do the figure 8, also resistance, where they press their hand on each side. So there's a lot of little physical exercises that you can recommend for people. I haven't written about that, but a lot of these are common sense, or you can download different exercises from the internet that you can combine as part of your therapy treatment. So, and also reminding people not to cross their legs. Whenever they catch themselves crossing their legs, ask them to uncross their legs. So again, they're creating a stronger equilibrium balance, as well as noting when people walk, because often when the hips are out, people will even walk with a slight limp where they're putting more emphasis on one side. So it's retraining your brain by going, okay, right foot forward, left foot forward, right foot forward, left foot forward. And, really putting emphasis on both sides of the feet being in unison, meaning you're not putting more pressure on one leg than the other leg. Okay, and of course, because of the fact that we are seeing the equilibrium off, if you're partnered or you're a chiropractor yourself or somebody who does manipulation of the spine, then you can do a therapy treatment. And one of the treatments that I also recommend is that they take either the root chakra essence or the chi essence and roll it from the bottom of the spine up to the nape of the neck, to the cerebellum. So they're creating the energy flow up the spine. And if, we could even get people working in a partnership, rolling the essence or the chakra blend up each side of the spine. So this way you're actually even strengthening the spine more so with an essence or an aromatherapy balancing treatment. And that would be geared towards the spine specifically. So again, we want to strengthen the chi, get the cerebral fluid moving from the base part of the spine up to the brain. So we want to give the client, some indication of different protocols that will help assist with that. Now, because of the fact she was having some emotional struggles in regards to relationships, she was quite confident of this new relationship, which is typical of an orange person anyways. They're going to fall head over heels in love, but they're going to remember a lot of things from their past that can, you know, bring into their future relationship, because that orange energy in nature is like a little child sometimes, where, you know, they may say to their partner, you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't do what my ex-boyfriend did, you know, and things like that. They would be comparing to other people because their feelings were hurt. And so they'll use that emotions to, hurt other loved ones in their life. And again, I would really focus on a lot of red protocols. So this person builds up their own inner confidence and strength, so they're not relying on others for, for support in relationships. Because again, we don't want people to, you know, get into conflict in relationships because they're having difficulties, being confident in who they are. Okay. Now, so that probably was over a half-hour reading. And again, if the client was here, I would have engaged more. Now, if it's a 1-hour reading, I'm doing the chakra analysis in combination with the aura analysis, in combination with the graph analysis, or the numerical values. So we can see on the aura picture and the graph analysis, we can grab the numbers by hitting the button that's called Excel Export. So you'll see right there, it's called Excel Export. And by doing that, we can actually import the data into an Excel spreadsheet, and we can start monitoring the client's progress over time. So the more you see the energy deficiencies or the energy imbalances, whether they're a deficiency or an excess, then again, what you're doing is you're building a pattern over time. I tell people, when I do one reading, I'm getting a good indication of who you are, where your energy imbalances are. However, when we do this a second time, then what we're doing is we're validating what is constant, but we're also noting what the variables are, because, you know, if this person is struggling with certain things and they're working on their energy, we certainly want to see that energy shift over time. So with this person, I would be noting where the imbalances are. So we could see that the cerebellum is 0.39, the ear is 0.39, the mouth is 0.39, the neck is 0.39, the rectum is 0.39, and the hips are 1.33, so that's good. So all of these organs that I just mentioned at 0.39, the number value tells you that this is a pattern of consciousness or unconsciousness that is directly connected, because sometimes you will get deviations in the number value where you might be, for example, saying 0.35 or 0.37 or 0.42. Well, those numbers are different than 0.39, meaning that it's not directly correlated, but when you see the number value and the color is exactly the same, that is a pattern of consciousness that's exactly the same. Now, the pattern of consciousness or unconsciousness, I should say, it can be multidimensional, but if we look at the cerebellum at 0.39, this is a past thought connection. And we store a lot of information at the back of our head that has to do with things from the past. So when a person has a program, whether positive or negative, and in this case, we're going to view it more on the negative side, then we look at what organs are it connected to so we can understand what the programming is. So the cerebellum could be connected to some past programming to do with family. It could also to do with friends. It could do to be a connection with teachers. But if we look at it in the way of, let's just say that as a child, somebody's parents was always belittling them. And a case, if this girl or this woman was an orange girl by nature throughout her whole life, then she could have been the type of child that demanded a lot of attention of her parents. And if that's the case, I could imagine that her mother or father or both, or even her siblings, could have been constantly telling her that she's annoying. You're annoying, you're not stopping, you're chattering too much, get out of my face, leave me alone. You know, these are some of the statements that could be, you know, said to this type of individual. And based on, you know, again, what chakras or color intelligence we were at a younger age, which is usually what we are at an older age as well, then we can see that there can be some commentary made to us that could be redundantly said. And if it becomes redundant, then aspects of our body start to hear it, because obviously there's that, in a way, programming that keeps replaying because the statement is being said by one or more people. So we can see here that, you know, we're looking at also the ear at 0.39. Well, the ear is about what we hear. It's also about how we're being heard. So if this person, you know, was constantly belittled when they were a child, or, you know, made to feel inadequate in some way, then we can understand that maybe they didn't want to hear what was being said to them because it wasn't a happy thought, or it wasn't a happy statement. Because an orange person, and all of us on, you know, in regards to our orange intelligence, we want to be, you know, we want to be happy. We want to live in the present moment, but different types of programming shuts us down in these different areas. So to me, this person has selective hearing. They would only want to hear things that pleasure them. And if they don't hear things that are those happy, you know, statements, then they're going to, you know, just become deaf. You know, they don't want to hear these things. And, you know, there was a situation that happened in regards to this person, and I no longer see them as a client because basically they became very emotional and felt that the relationship wasn't conducive anymore to her. So, and that's typical of an orange, you know, if they don't feel that you're paying enough attention to them, you know, and the expectations could be things like, well, you didn't phone me to, you know, rebook another session when I canceled, you know, and things like that, then, you know, they'll go on to the next practitioner that will pay more attention to them. Now, we also notice their pineal gland is weak, or their pituitary gland. So we might ask them a question about, have you noticed that your sleeping habits aren't as strong as they could be? And again, if the person's sleeping with animals, or somebody who snores, or who is restless, or maybe they snore or they're restless, then that can affect their sleep patterns. Now, also 0.39 in the mouth, we can indicate that, you know, that maybe this person has a problem with their expression. And sometimes, again, I'm going back to the nature of the orange person, they have verbal diarrhea. They'll just say whatever's on their mind and they don't put thought into it, which can cause a lot of conflict because they'll be very blunt in their dialogue. And again, they could have a very sharp tongue, which again is an abuse of, you know, our vocal abilities. The neck is our stress barometer between, you know, our lower chakras and our upper chakras. So this could indicate that there is a miscommunication, you know, on a reality level with their spiritual beliefs. And sometimes the spiritual beliefs could be your soul beliefs, meaning your soul already understands, but if you're not connected to that, then again, there could be a disconnect in the, you know, the throat chakra area in the neck, because that is the you know, two realms that are connecting to, you know, help with your understanding on a holistic level as to why you're here. And the rectum was also at that 0.39 that I recall. Yeah. So the rectum being also in that gray area, then we know that this person has a lot of thoughts and ideas, because obviously they're very creative, but are they able to manifest their thoughts and ideas? Because when the rectum is holding, people will get constipated, and, you know, again, then as part of the process of elimination, they're unable to eliminate as strongly as they can. Now, if we look at the physicality, we can understand the rectum. You know, a question we would ask is if they have any problems with bowel movements. Oh, and I forgot the small intestine. So the small intestine has to do with your absorption of your nutrients. So we can see here that this person is weak in that area. And because there's quite a bit of gray in the aura, we're seeing several organs that are gray. We know that dehydration is an issue. And of course, if somebody's dehydrated, they're going to be constipated as well. And if they're dehydrated, then again, if the cells are shut down because they're in an atrophied state, then how can the body possibly remineralize? How can the body absorb nutrients, especially when it's in the small intestine? We actually can indicate that there is a weakness in the absorption. The neck and the shoulders, this is a huge stress barometer for a lot of people. And because, and again, I caught myself slouching, this would indicate even my own neck and shoulder needs to have more reinforcement, because when we slouch, what are we doing? We're putting our head forward, and that causes stress on our neck. And our neck is holding up our head, which is like a bowling ball. That's a lot of weight to have on a spindle. So the thinner our neck, then, you know, the more problems we can have in this area, because there's a lot of weight that's, sitting on our neck region. So again, we can look at how a person's posture is to indicate, you know, the stresses that are in that area. So, you know, again, I tell people, you know, pull yourself up as if, you know, there's somebody pulling you up a little bit from your hair, you know, just to align your body in a proper manner, so you're not slouching, and always trying to remember to keep that upright position. And it's such a shame, because chairs are often made with a little tilt back, which is not conducive to our posture. We should really be, you know, in that perpendicular, position when we're sitting. And likewise, when we're standing, making sure that, you know, each foot is planted firmly on the ground with equal pressure, so we're not pulling ourselves out of alignment. And the mouth, as I mentioned, if the atlas is off, that could put more stress on the jaw, which is part of the mouth area. But also, if this person has weakness in their digestive system, which we can see that there is some imbalances in the stomach region, we can see the descending colon is quite high. So this person might have a leaky gut, which means there's toxins that are overflowing into the bloodstream, which could be causing, you know, more problems within the body dynamics. But because she couldn't hold the energy in the small intestine, we know the absorption is weak, and with the descending colon being heightened. And we can also see here that the pancreas is also at a very high level, indicating it's around the number 10 value. So she could be having too many sweets, which is typical, again, of people who are orange in nature in their personality. You know, they're always looking for the sweetness in life, and if they're not getting it from, you know, their actual life, then they'll eat a lot of sweets to satisfy that sweetness craving. So the mouth, you know, doing some neck stretches in that area, you know, as well as mouth exercises, just opening up the mouth and just, you know, again, trying to get more flexibility in there. And, you know, if you're offering any kind of treatment where you can do physical manipulation, then, you know, you just might help to release some of the toxicity that could be stuck in the lymph system here, or, you know, massaging the mouth area. The ear being weak, this is indicating to me that, you know, she may have a little bit of earwax in her ear as well, because that can be a buildup over time when people are resisting hearing. And if she is eating a lot of sugar, then again, that could end up having candida in the ear. The gray in the ear wouldn't indicate the candida. If I saw orange in the ear, that would indicate that there is candida in the ear. And again, I would be asking the question if the person has noticed more moisture in their ear, because if there is more moisture, then of course that could be indicating the candida or the yeast infection. Okay, and for that, because there's an absence of energy, I would try to bring up a higher vibration. I would do light therapy for the ear, or myrrh essential oil is really good for the ears by putting some myrrh oil around the ears. So again, this is a protocol that you can recommend that they do. And if you sell color energy oils, we have a beautiful myrrh oil. And again, you would teach people how to put the myrrh oil and rub it on their ears to help lubricate their ears and help create more balance. And the indigo energy is the energy that governs the ear organs to begin with. So indigo, or I should say myrrh oil, is indigo energy. So that would be a really nice complement. Also for the pineal gland, frankincense and myrrh are also two oils that could help in that area to stimulate the pineal gland to increase better sleeps. In this case, they could put the frankincense or myrrh or the indigo chakra blend right on their brow chakra area to help induce that sleep. Or even our indigo spiritual spray, splashing a little bit of indigo essence on their pillow before they go to sleep, and even spraying above their head to bring in that indigo ray just to help prep them for sleep. And the cerebellum being the back of the head, likewise, you can recommend that they put oils at the back of their head. Also, we have a beautiful product called Guardian Angel, which you can roll on the back of the head to help release any programming that could be hindering people from moving forward in life, because Guardian Angel helps to realign your auric grid and release negativity. And it also helps to bring in your spiritual guides and helpers, your angels, to assist you on this planetary level, to help you connect to your soul consciousness and, your soul purpose here in life. Often I roll indigo energy on the nape of my neck, and I do love the Guardian Angel, so I have a bottle by my bedside, but even, our other indigo oils and essences, just to, help people connect to any information that could be hidden in their cerebellum, because the cerebellum itself holds a lot of past recollection. So by tapping into that, so sometimes when I go to bed, I'll use the indigo energy and I'll ask a question, and often in the morning and sometimes during the night, I wake up and I have answers to my prayers. Literally, I have answers to the questions that I've asked. So working with that indigo energy helps to raise your unconsciousness to a level of consciousness. And I bought this book on the brain, and it was fascinating to me because a lot of Nobel Peace Prize winners actually developed whatever they became famous for in the middle of the night, where they woke up from their dream activity with their invention or with their, with their theories, because that's the energy that we tap into when we're sleeping, is innovation, is invention. So that indigo energy actually heightens it and excites the brow chakra to, again, connect us to our soul purpose or other information that we can relate to. Okay, so here I've taken you through a 1-hour reading, going a bit into the chakras, a bit into the aura, a bit into the organs. And look at that, we're right at 1 hour. Isn't that awesome? So you can see how you can stretch that hour over, I should say you can stretch that hour out by doing different types of readings within a 1-hour session. And of course, this is a lot to take in an hour. So focus on the client, what's most important. So in this case, I know I want to focus on the dehydration. I'm going to be getting them to do, salt baths or salt soaks, foot salt soaks, or, other forms of salt therapy to help with the dehydration. I'm going to load them up on microminerals and trace elements just to get the gateways of the cells open again, so we can bombard it with water and, again, then take the state of atrophy of the organs that are gray and, get them back into a stronger life force. So again, we can get this person back on track. Now they told me that they went to the gym, which is awesome. So they're doing some physical activity, but because their posture's out, then that could be, you know, helping to lower their vibration, as well as, you know, on that emotional, mental, and spiritual level, you know, raising their root chakra vibration so they don't repeat the patterns of poor relationships, that they don't repeat the patterns of, being so emotional and destructive. We want them to raise their vibration of the root so they become strong in their foundation. So if something, were to happen in their life, then they would just be able to move forward and not take everything to the level that, for example, this person did to be quite destructive. And so that red energy will help people to be more self-reliant and not to depend on others to create their happiness. Okay. So that's sort of a 1 hour reading. And of course, when you have the client asking questions, then the direction of the consultation will go more into, what is necessary. I kind of gave you a bit of a rundown as to the conversation I had with this person so you could understand some of their situation. But of course, when you have a real person where you're asking questions, then they're going to be talking back to you and giving you information as to where you're going to head with, your conversation and your consultation. But remember to end all sessions with giving people protocols that they can do, suggesting therapies that you offer that can, help them, constantly build up the areas of imbalance to create more balance. And that could be continual sessions. So this way you're giving them the homework, they're going home, they're working on themselves, and then they're coming back 3 to 4 weeks later. So you're, doing a comparison and taking them to that next level. And then as well, in some of my other videos, I mentioned, start teaching classes. And with Zoom, you can do everything via the internet, to keep people engaged in what you're doing and, teaching people about chakras and energies and other things. And I'm going to send you a couple things today. One will be the menu. So this way you can, look at the different services that you can build. Again, maybe offer a session where they do 3 and they get the third session for 5 or 10% off, or a series of 7 sessions. So you're working on one color at a time and you're doing literally house cleaning, or you could do 1 every month for a series of 12 sessions. And I've got a few people that are doing more remote sessions. So if that's something that interests you, let me know and I can send you some information on that. So I'm going to send you that handout. And I'm also going to send you a reminder if you haven't gotten it, or I'll send this to you regardless if you've gotten it or not, that takes you through physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally what people can do to create that wholeness in all the different energy centers. Okay, so I'm going to open it up now. Anybody have any questions thus far, or based on today's seminar?
I have a question.
Yes. Sure, Appaloosa. Hi, good to see you.
Hey, you. Top and then along the side and under the feet. So under the feet is kind of the overall physical self, and then emotional, mental. Could you go over those a little bit more when you're doing the initial scan, and then also right brain, left brain? I'm still not quite grasping that.
Yeah, and sometimes there's areas of the reading that, are a little bit more difficult, but that comes into play understanding the colors and if they're feminine and or masculine. And that was one of the reasons why I made my new chart, just to give you guys this chart here that makes reference to the masculine and feminine colors, right brain, left brain. It goes into emotional versus mental. And all of this is in your training manual, so you have to dig it up. I mention it in multiple places, and that's why I always say, read your manual more than once, because the first time you read it, you're still green. You're trying to figure everything out. The second time you read it, go, oh, that's what she's talking about. The third time you read it, it's like, oh, now it's really starting to make sense. And this is what I did along the way, because, you know, at the beginning, I didn't go into left brain, right brain. I didn't get all that at the beginning. So it will come, Appaloosa. It just takes a little bit of time doing the readings. But in a nutshell, the emotional colors are orange, green, and indigo. And the mental colors are yellow, blue, and red. So the more you see any of those colors in an aura that are predominant, then you know that there's more, you know, either the right brain or left brain energy going on, because right brain energy is your feminine energy, left brain energy is your masculine energy. And again, I mentioned that in your binder, your training manual. So, you know, please study that, because you know, for me to go into every single description of it right now, that's a whole other class. But in this picture, for example, we're seeing orange above the head, you know, lots of green in the body. So this person is radiating a lot of emotional energy.
And just real quickly about when you start doing the initial overall reading, you start with above the head, and then you move on to kind of the sides and below the feet. Could you just go over what you would have seen in this picture and specifically?
Sure. So above the head, and these are the colors of the thoughts, the emotions, the mood, the attitude. So first, I start by saying what a beautiful aura, followed by discussing the colors above the head. And I always refer to it in a positive nature, because when you're building that relationship to begin with, you want it to be positive. You want people to feel good about themselves, because we all know we have imbalances. But, you know, certainly I don't want you to be talking about my negativity to begin with. I want you to talk about my positivity. Then you've got me sold. You know, when you're kind of, I call it fluffing up the ego, or, you know, fluffing up a person's feathers. You know, just that simple, you know, indication of all the positiveness can go a long way to start with. Then I look at the colors that are going around the person to indicate the body, mind, and spirit connection. And, you know, here you just have to kind of use your intuition as to what it looks like, because I'm seeing 3 different colors, because the orange above the head is different than the yellow orange that's underneath. This is more yellow based, so it's a different frequency. So she's learning a lot about you know, her personality, possibly, you know, because it's emotional and intellectual in nature. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of emotion, you know, combined with this sort of turquoisey blue color. You know, again, personal growth, you know, healing energy. So, I mean, there's so many possibilities of what you can say. So that's where, you know, just throw out what you're sensing in regards to that person. One thing I did forget to mention here is the spine. And again, when you click your cursor and then you actually scroll down, you'll see what organ is highlighted, but the spine is always indicated here as well as on this side of the body. And you can see the spine is in green, so which would indicate their chi is strong. So I forgot to address that. And in part, I forgot to address it because it looks like their vitality is good. So it wasn't anything that popped out as a main concern. Then I go through the chakras and I look for anything that I see as an imbalance or so-called blockage and discuss that. And then I end it by doing recommendations, telling them about other services I offer that I would like to encourage them to participate in, as well as, you know, signing up for my next class. So they get more training in regards to understanding the chakras, or, you know, different things that I want to teach them. And based on what it is that you're interested in, I can help guide you on that, or, you know, I am creating some training classes. If anybody's interested in the color energy course, we have that, but you have to be a reseller of our product because it is based on that. Okay, so until somebody comes up with another question, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to launch another poll, and this will help me go to the next level of what you guys want to learn. So you have here business applications, color, vibrational energy medicine treatments, chromalife light therapy, product testing and biofeedback, more on the Biopulsar softwares, or anything else. You guys can, you know, send me a text, or send me an email, or chat me, anything that you might be interested in. Because again, I'll keep doing these classes based on what the what you as a group decide as most important. Okay, so we're getting a lot for Chrome Alive. So you guys want to learn more about light therapy. I actually thought that was a good one. We could go over that because I'd love to show you guys more about that. Light therapy is something I do all the time. And my dog got a little bit of we took him to the vet this week, and the vet, of course, you know, right away they're saying, oh, you know, operation. And I walked out of there, and Nikolai and I had a conversation, and, you know, I'm going to be doing more light therapy with him. I wasn't so dedicated to doing light therapy, and now rather than an operation, I'm going to do light therapy, and I'll keep you guys informed of how he's doing, because, you know, to me, light therapy is an incredible way to treat. I try to use the pen light on myself on a daily basis, and I've just had so many things in regards to the pen light that has helped me. So I'll share that with you guys. And that's the winner, Chrome Alive Light Therapy. So that's what we're going to do next weekend. And I'm actually going to take a picture of this poll with my phone. I get the poll later, but this way I have it right away. So bear with me a second here. I'm going to take that picture. Perfect. Okay. And so yeah, we'll continue. I've slated next week for our next class. So we're going to talk about light therapy. And yeah, we'll just keep going. And remember, it takes us a couple days to get the video uploaded. So if you want to go back and review this video, you'll be able to. Okay, and then before I sign off, I'll just give you one more chance if there's any questions.
Susanne, I have a question.
Okay.
I know you can't see me today because of my screen. Now let's say somebody has itchy ears, like if
right.
they, I don't have their color pulled up, or their what do you call it? Their chart pulled up right now.
Right.
But what would itchy ears indicate, or would that have to be like the specific color to know more or less?
Well, you always want to look at the color because it validates it more, because itchiness can be parasites, because when people have parasites in a location, then often that's where they're itchy. So again, if it's itchy ears, you could be looking at the phlegm constitution, which again could be that, you know, that low aggressive, you know, bacteria, candida, yeast infection. So that's sort of what I'd be looking at more so.
I know it's probably gray because I'm recalling the number, and I think it was 0.39. Yeah. With the ears.
Yeah, and that of course is an absence of energy, which means it went through the phase of yellow, orange, and then red, and now is gray. So, you know, again, if there is that itchiness, it could be a dryness then at that point.
Yes, because this person has eczema.
Okay.
They get dry, itchy skin. They have dandruff.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah. Okay. And I know they drink tons and tons and tons and tons of water, and very high quality water. So. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll share with you, if you don't mind, Gabriella, I'm going to talk a second here about you. We just did a class here, and Gabriella is buying our Andean salts, and she gets people to make a brine, and during the day, sip the salt brine to help with the absorption. So thank you for sharing that with me, Gabriella, because I do recommend a lot of salt therapy. And now that we've got the Andean salts in, because they're harvested from plateaus that are in the mountains, they're pure. They're not ocean salts, which now there's a lot of controversy with ocean salts being contaminated with plastic. So a lot of people don't want to do the Dead Sea salts anymore. And so the Andean salt, because they're harvested from mountains, and they have more minerals. Gabriella, you said 92 or something like that?
95.
95 minerals. So that's a lot of minerals that are in the salt. So again, I think that's a really good protocol to get people sipping on salt water during the day. And do you have anything to add to that, Gabriella?
Well, I muscle test them to see how many times a day that they're going to be having the salt sips. So it might be 2 times a day, 3 times a day. Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
How does that work with people with high blood pressure?
Well, when it is good salt, it's not like the bad table salt. It's the bad table salt that can run people up with a high blood pressure. But according to what I've read, and again, this is just what I've sourced out, and I've read a lot on salt therapy. When it is a high grade mineral salt, you cannot. It's not going to affect you on that level. If anything, think it about this way, because let's just say you're low on iron and you're not absorbing your microminerals. Well, iron is a key component to getting blood into or getting oxygen into your blood. So if you've got high blood pressure, because now your heart's having to work faster because it's trying to get more oxygen pumping through the heart, it's a catch-22. So if you get them taking, the high grade mineral salts, and that then helps with the absorption of not only your essential minerals, but also your iron. And that then becomes the catalyst for producing more oxygen in your blood. That will actually normalize your blood pressure.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've read that as well. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Awesome.
Susanne, I just had a question about the atlas. Would you see the atlas at the back of the head, or would it be part of the neck on the biopulsar?
We look specifically at the cerebellum. That is recognized as the part of the brain connected to your atlas.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Well, beautiful. I'll let you guys go then. And next Tuesday, I'm doing color Vibrational Healing 101 again. This one is more geared for my wholesale accounts. So you're all invited, obviously, because you're practitioners. So everybody who's got a biopulsar is invited to that. And it probably will be slightly different than the class I gave last Tuesday. Because a lot of my training is very organic, I never know what's going to come out of my mouth, and I like it that way. So I even keep myself in mystery as to what I'm going to say to you guys, okay? But nonetheless, so Tuesday is my Color Vibrational 101 class. For those of you who said you're interested more in color vibrational energy medicine treatments, then I'm going to be talking about using color energy for healing. And then next Thursday, we're going to be doing the class on chromalive therapy.
What time on Tuesday?
So I'm going to continue giving the classes at 3 p.m. my time. So wherever you're situated, I think, are you in Arizona, Debbie, or California?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're on the same time zone as me. And I do that because of the fact we have people from all over the world that are joining us. It's a lot of fun that I can see people from all over the place. So because of that, it makes the most sense to do it at 3 p.m. I think it's a good time. And if you miss it, again, the videos will always be uploaded on our Biopulsar Color Energy YouTube channel. So you can always review it if you miss it, okay?
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, guys, over and out. Be colorful and bright, shine your light, and keep helping everyone.